Hello, everyone. Awesome news. We finished a unit, online learning. Woohoo! So we are moving on to the next unit. We are going to limit, we're not really going to do any tests. We're going to just keep doing our small quizzes each time we learn something. Okay. So today we're starting with solving quadratics. Now, if you did well last unit, if you did well the last two units, this unit is going to be pretty easy for you because it's really just adding on to what we've already learned. Excuse me. Always yawning. So there's going to be factoring in it. There's going to be graphing. So that's our last two units, factoring quadratics, graphing quadratics. But now we're basically adding an equal sign and a zero to it. And so now it's an equation. So now instead of just factoring for an answer, we're actually going to solve for an answer. There are several different ways we're going to do this. And the first way is by graphing. Okay, so this is solving quadratics by graphing. The values, value or values of x when the equation equals 0, where the parabola or your graph crosses the x-axis, that is your solution. Okay, so this is like a definition of solving a quadratic. It's the values of x when the equation equals 0, where your parabola crosses the x-axis. So for example, if I draw this, it's these 2 points where that parabola is crossing the x-axis. This is also another little hint that you might need, is that you need to solve for the values that make ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0 true. Okay, so basically we're just looking for what are the two values where the x-axis hits, where our graph hits the x-axis. Okay, so let's talk about 3 different situations that can arise. The first situation that can arise, now before I even do this, I'm just going to draw my coordinate plane in. The first type of situation that could arise is where there's no real solution. That could look something like this. One solution could look something like that. And 2 solutions could look like this. Okay, now what that means, guys, is with no solution, this graph is not touching this x-axis at all. Okay, so it never crosses the x-axis. So there are no solutions. Here, it crosses it at one spot. So it kind of looks like the spot that it crosses at is about 4. So x would equal 4. That's one solution. Excuse me. Now in this graph, you have 2 solutions, 2 spots where the graph crosses the x-axis. It looks like it crosses at 2 and 5. So you would say x equals 2, x equals 5. Those are the 2 places. Okay, there are 2 solutions. One solution, 2 solution, no solution. Okay, so now let's look at an example. So if I have this problem here, I'm going to draw my coordinate plane because I am going to graph it for you. So now this is an interesting one because this is in standard form, so the most recent stuff we did. That's usually my standard form. So you can see that the b value is missing because there's no number next to an x. We have our c and we have our a. So I do know that a is 1 and b is 0. I don't have 1. C is -4. Now, if I want to find the vertex of this, I have to do x equals -b over 2a. So that would be -0 over 2 times 1. So that would be 0 over 2, which is just 0. 0 over anything is 0. Now, to find the y value of the vertex, I got to plug that 0 into my original equation, just like we did last topic. So now 0 squared is 0 minus 4. I'm left with -4 as my y. So that means that my vertex, and I'm going to put that in the middle. Always when we're setting up a table, we always put our vertex in the middle. So our vertex is 0, -4. Okay. Now, what numbers go up from 0, 1, 2? What numbers go down? -1, -2. Okay, this should help us graph it. You also can just do what we've been doing. So go to 0, -4. It's also our y-intercept. So actually, we have to kind of find two other points. So let's try to find, and remember it's a mirror image, so these should be the same, and these should be the same. So let's plug in a -1 and see what we get. So I'm just plugging in a -1 to my original equation. So -1 squared is a +1 minus 4, that's a -3. So y is -3 when x is -1. So -3 is here. That means it would also be here because of the mirror image. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. So 1, -3, -1, -3. Okay. And if I go ahead and just start to graph this, you should kind of see what happens at 2 and -2 is that they cross the x-axis, which means these would be 0. So our solutions to this would be x equals 2 and x equals -2. Those are the two x values at which the graph crosses. So there are two solutions to this problem. Okay. Now I'm going to skip to a new page and I'm going to do another problem. This stuff is definitely not super easy. It's a combination of everything we've been learning. So I'm going to do one more out for you. So this one, I have my A, my B, my C. A is 1, B is -10, C is 24. I'm going to zoom in a little for you. Okay. Now, the vertex, like I said, we got to use x equals -b over 2a. Okay. So my -b is -10. So I have a double negative here over 2 times 1. That gives me 10 over 2, which is 5. I now have to take that 5 and plug it in to my original equation, the x squared minus 10x plus 24. So I'm going to do 5 squared minus 10 times 5 plus 24. 5 squared is 25. This gives me -50. 25 minus 50, that's -25. Plus 24, that's going to give me a -1. So my vertex, which I'm going to put in the middle of this chart, is 5, -1. Now to go up and down from 5, I would go 6, 7. To go down, I would go 4, 3. Okay. I'm going to draw my coordinate plane here. So I should have a dot on 5, -1. That's my vertex. That also means this is the AOS, so it should be a mirror image. So that means these should be the same number. These should be the same number. Okay. Now I just need to figure out what these are. I can't put my y-intercept on this graph because it's 24. That's way too high. I can't fit it. So I'm going to do a little bit of math up here to see what, if I plugged in 4, what I would get. So if I plugged in a 4 to this equation, 4 squared minus 10 times 4 plus 24. So I just took a 4 and plugged it into this for x because I want to find the y. I would get 16 minus 40 plus 24. 16 minus 40, that would give me -24 plus 24, that gives me 0. So when I plug in a 4, I get a 0. That means when I plug in a 6, I will also get a 0. So I can go ahead and plot that 4, 0, 6, 0. And then I can make my graph to estimate what I will get if I kept going. If I kept going, it looks like I would have gotten 2 for each of these. Okay, but the important thing here is when this crosses the x-axis, it is at 4 and 6. So x equals 4 and x equals 6. So that means, once again, I have 2 solutions. Okay, now I could verify if this is 2 and 2. I'm not super concerned about that, but that was just an estimation based on how I drew my lines. Where did it fall at 3? Looks like it's at about 2. If I drew it a little steeper, it could have been about 3. It's really how you drew it. So we could plug it in and get an accurate answer for that. But as long as we have an accurate answer for our solutions, then we're good. Okay. So I know this can be a little tough. I will post more videos next class, and we will keep going on about this for at least one more class. Okay, please come to my video chat 11 to 12 if you need any help. Have a great day.